And okay, we are live, guys. This is Supradrew. Welcome to Coin Chat with Supradrew. I've got my buddy Hayden here helping me out. He's jack of all trades on YouTube. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo,
How you doing, Hayden?
Doing pretty good, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks. Thanks for helping out again. And our guest tonight is Chuck Daughtrey. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Buddy?
I'm doing great. Ready to get this started. Interested in seeing what's going on and what questions we're going to end up having.
Well, I promise we'll take it easy on you, okay?
All right.
All right, I'm going to mention first that Chuck is Copper Coins on YouTube, and his website is coppercoins.com. So go check him out, coppercoins.com. Okay, so what do you say we just dive in, okay, Chuck?
Sure.
Hayden, you want to give us some shout-outs? Let us know who's in the chat room?
Yeah. Looks like we got Sandy's Passions. We got
Awesome.
We got Copper Coins. We got Wild Cobra 888. We got Detecting Arizona. Super Neo 123. Bob's Dignit. Obi Wolf. Silver Stacker Kid. And Coin Hunting Drew was here earlier.
Awesome. Nice group of people so far. So, Chuck, what do you say we get started? How about you telling us a little bit about your history and how you got started doing what you do?
I got started around 1975. My dad had a golfing buddy and picked up a couple of rolls of pennies, wheat pennies from his buddy, and gave me one of those blue Whitman folders. And I had a lot of fun just sticking the coins in the slots. And fast forward to the late 70s, I was in upper grade school, getting into the junior high school, and I started really getting a little more serious about collecting. And that's when I started actually buying coins and getting into going to the coin shops and stuff like that. It wasn't until I was about 15 years old that I decided to specialize in something. And the reason for specializing was because I was having a hard time understanding how I was ever going to afford to collect everything. And I knew since I couldn't collect everything, I had to find one thing that I could be good at. And because I didn't have an endless, bottomless pit of money to spend on silver dollars or gold coins, I decided that pennies would be probably the best way for me to go because they were easily accessible and inexpensive. And as I studied through them, I realized that there was more and more to learn about them that I didn't know. And especially after buying John Wexler's book, The Lincoln Cent Double Die, I found that there were hundreds of different little innuendos about coins, little tiny things that I had not known before that made them all that much more interesting. And as I continued to study them and continued to know more about them, they intrigued me all that much more. And fast forward again, I was in the military. I was stationed in Germany, picking up pennies from the local federal credit union, looking through them for the 1983 double die, which was relatively new, the 1984 doubled ear, which I didn't even understand what it was at the time, but I knew that if I found one, I'd probably know what it was when I saw it. And I spent probably 4 years digging through coins, looking for whatever I could find that was different without even having the internet, books, anything else. I was basically just kind of making up my own rules as I went along. And come to find out, after the internet did come around, and after I picked up a few more books, and after I had a chance to talk with some of the experts in the hobby, I was actually on the right track the entire time. Fast forward to 1999, and I met up with another gentleman by the name of Bob, who knew a lot about large cents and half cents and Indian cents, and I knew about Lincoln cents, and we came together and made a website called Copper Coins. And Copper Coins was initially supposed to be a website that was a overall study of all of the different copper issues that the United States had ever minted, including the 2-cent coin, the half-cents, the Flying Eagle pennies, and one thing led to another, and he was unable to continue his participation in the site, and that's how Copper Coins became a Lincoln cent heavy website. And to this day, the new version that kind of eliminates all those other series has not come out yet. We're still working on that part, but that's where we sit today, with a website that has mainly Lincoln cent die varieties, and we have about 20,000 images of about 3,000 different Lincoln cent die varieties, repunchment marks, and double dies on the website, and that's kind of where we are now.
Wow, that's pretty cool. A lot of fast forwarding there.
Yeah, so it's like 25 years inside of 5 minutes, but
yeah, that's pretty yeah, that's great. That's pretty comprehensive. So you have a book you've written too, correct?
Yes, I wrote a book. This one's kind of a funny story. In early 2004, I worked at a milk co-op in the computer room, and the first 4 to 5 hours of my shift was basically spent sitting there staring at nothing. And so I decided with that time, I would spend my time studying and learning and writing. And I decided that I was invited by a dealer to come to a show in Oklahoma City to teach people about what I knew. And I decided that I was going to write a few little pamphlets. They were going to be like, 10, 15-page pamphlets that I could sell and make my gas money back, because I was poor as dirt at the time. And I was just looking to make my gas money back, selling these little pamphlets for $2 or so. And that's what that's what I thought I was going to end up doing. What ended up happening is those little pamphlets, I decided, well, there's not quite enough information here. Well, I think I need to add pictures into this. I think I'll add a little bit to this. And I ended up gluing that together into a 304-page book. So
Wow.
I wrote the book from early January through about the 1st of March, and this show was going to happen the last weekend in April. And I went to a local printer and talked to the local printer about the possibility of actually having the book printed. And I did the cover first, designed the cover, and had him print the cover while they were working on the plates for the book. Because this is back in the day when we were still burning plates to do press printing. It wasn't digital back then. And over the next 2 to 3 weeks, they finished up all the sections of the book. And I don't know if you understand how books are made. They're made in large sheets, and then the pages are backed up against one another and printed, and the whole thing is folded, and then it's chopped on the edges after it's bound. So basically, you've got a number of 8-page sections in a book before they slice, the guillotine slice off all the edges of the paper, and you end up with a multi-page book.
And that way the edge where the binding is nice and even, nice and straight.
Exactly. Yeah, they stack it up like this, and then they bind it, and then they chop all these 3 edges off, and then the back edge where the binding is what remains. And God bless my mother. We went down there. They weren't going to be able to get all the sections of the book together to have it bound by the time I had to go to the show. And so my mother and I went down there, and they folded out 2 long, 8-foot long, like church tables, like banquet tables, in the middle of their print shop, and laid all of these boxes of sections underneath the table. And my mother and I sat there, and we collated 1,500 copies of my book.
Oh, my God.
Then we took all that down to Staples and had them do the continuous coil ring binding, and thus was born the original version of Looking Through Lincoln Cents, of which there were only about 1,000 copies bound.
How many copies do you think are in print now?
Well, there's a different edition of Looking Through Lincoln Cents out now that actually came out in 2005. It was by Xyrus Press. The story behind that was, after the show in early May in Oklahoma City, I brought the books back home, and I had a garage full of books because I didn't sell very many of them. And I decided that I wanted to push my books. So I had a friend drive up from Texas and meet me in Missouri, and we drove in my mother's car with the trunk loaded full of books to the A&A show in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And I spent the next week pushing my book to every dealer and everybody that I could talk to about my book. I would try to get them to buy copies of it. There was a point where the A&A invited me to sit up in the very front of the show and do a book signing, do an author's book signing. And while I was doing that author's book signing, a guy came up to me and introduced himself as Bart Crane from Xyrus Press, and that they wanted to do the next edition of my book. And I was flabbergasted. Of course, I was honored that someone, that a publisher came to me wanting to do my book, and it wasn't a matter of me having to hunt down a publisher. And so we redesigned the cover. We did some layout work in the book and kind of relaid the book out, and they took care of all the collating and all the printing and all the cutting and binding. And I believe somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12,000 copies of the book have sold in the years since it came out in 2005. And I do realize that it's a little bit out of date at this point, because roughly 2001, 2002 was the last year that was actually covered in the book. And I'm working on another edition of the book that should come out sometime next year, sometime in 2016.
Awesome. So will these be like companion pieces then? Like one just leads into the next?
No, they're actually replacement editions.
Okay.
Because the thing is, the whole book is laid out chronologically from 1909 to date. And there has been information discovered, found out, and come to light since the last edition came out. And if I have something to add from 1925, how would I do that in a book that's already bound?
Good point. Good point.
With these, I just added in for each edition. I just do a new book.
That's a good idea. I see your point. It probably wouldn't work to simply have an addendum chapter and like adding things. It's probably a good idea just to simply redo it and,
Not really.
Add the things.
I've got a copy of the book here, and I'm going to attempt to sort of show you a little bit about it. Okay, so if you look at this page right here, I don't know how, is that coming in focus at all?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay, well, that's the page for 1934. And so basically 1934, I write about the number of coins that were made, the fact that 1934 Lincoln cents were minted in much higher quantity than 1933. I talk about some of the more common repunchment marks and double dies, and some of their very rare repunchment marks and double dies that are made for that year. And then I move on to 1935. So it's not a listing of one die variety, then another, then another, then another. It's kind of a chapter read book. It's a story of the Lincoln cent, basically.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that one in print. I'll
Well,
definitely.
the next edition, this is barely bigger than a pocket guide. I mean, you can see that it's not very big. The next edition is actually going to be a full-size book, and it's going to be probably 400 to 500 pages. It's going to include values. It's going to have nice big color pictures of some of the highest grade Lincoln cents known. It'll be really nice.
Now, is this going to consist of your photographs and artwork?
It's going to have a lot of my photographs. Some of my artwork will be involved. But basically what happens when I write a book is I do everything cover to cover, front to back, top to bottom. I do pretty much most of the photography. I do all of the writing. I do all of the layout work, all of the artwork in it. And then I'll have my wife and my friend Bob and probably somebody else at work. I'll give each of them manuscript copies to read through and edit and tell me what needs to be changed in it, so that then I'll change it, then I'll send it to press.
Good, cool. Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between die varieties and errors?
That's something that we've talked about earlier. A lot of times people use those terms synonymously, as if there is really no difference between a die variety and an error. when in actuality, the people who are specialists in errors and or die varieties know that there's a big difference, and in fact, there's a lot of them. One does not collect the other. I'm generally a die variety hound. I am not an error person. I understand a lot of the errors and I know how to identify them, but I do not collect them, and I don't hold on to them, study them, write about them. Now here's the difference. A die variety is generally doubling that occurs on the die during the time that the die is created, so that all of the coins minted with that die have the same issue, the same doubling. So the 1955 double die Lincoln cent, that is a die variety.
Not an error.
Not an error. An error coin is generally one for one. It's generally something that happens at the time the planchets are made or that the strike occurs. Things like wrong planchet errors, centered planchets, broken planchets, split planchets, the incomplete planchets with the clips, broad struck coins, fold over struck coins, saddle struck coins, anything that can happen that a coin comes out looking really weird and messed up is an error. Now there's one place where die varieties and errors tend to have this little mishmash of well, which one is it, and the line is a little more blurred, and that's where you get into what's called die errors. Die errors occur as the die is striking coins, and it occurs to the die, and then every coin after that shows the die error. So a die clash, die cracks. Let's see, what else can I come up with?
For instance, you know, not necessarily a penny, but for instance, the 1955 half dollar that you and I were talking about recently.
Yeah, the Bugs Bunny error. That's actually a die clash where the feathers of the little tiny eagle on the reverse side of the coin are lined up perfectly so that when the two die slam together without a coin between them and transfer their design to one another, those little feather ends end up sticking right out of Franklin's lip, and it looks like buck teeth.
Yep.
So they call it
Bugs Bunny error.
Bunny. And that is an error. It's a die error. Whereas that's a perfect example to explain it on, because the very first coins minted with that particular die that shows those teeth sticking out was completely normal. It didn't have the error. Whereas the very first coin struck with the 1955 double die, that did have the doubling on the die from the time it started minting coins until it finished minting coins. So die varieties can be cataloged specifically by the die that made them when you do a forensic examination and can find little scratches and fingerprint things on the die as the coins were being made that show up on every coin. Whereas with die errors, that's not necessarily the case. Die errors can actually, for instance, the Bugs Bunny on the 1955 Franklin could be polished off. And so at some point you go from a normal die to the Bugs Bunny to X Bugs Bunny, where it's actually been polished off and you can't see it anymore. But then things like double dies, they stick with you from the beginning to the end. And that's what I study, that's what I write about, and that's basically what Copper Coins is about.
Very interesting. I'm glad you clarified that for us, because I know, like you were saying, there are a lot of people that kind of mismatch the terms, you know, error and die variety.
Well, a lot of that is, and I don't ever like to bash anyone or any place for their efforts in the hobby, but PCGS has a very simplified system of noting when things are errors and or varieties, and they have one term that they use for all of them, and that is mint error. So if you have a double die, they're going to call it a mint error. So a lot of generalist collectors have picked up that nomenclature and used mint error for all die varieties and errors. And so it's really difficult to try to go through and educate the public to the fact that die varieties are not errors and errors are not die varieties. They are completely different.
Yeah. There's a distinction to be made for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, Jack of all trades, do you have any questions from the chat room?
Yeah, sure do, man. All right, Lee wants to know how many winter metal detect. How many people detect during the winter out there, and how do you deal with the frozen ground?
You moved to Florida.
Yeah. I tell you how I metal detect in the wintertime and deal with frozen ground is by coin roll hunting.
Yeah.
There is no metal detecting for Supradrew in the wintertime.
I was actually digging with my uncle one time in a playground up in Missouri, and it had been pretty cold outside, but the ground wasn't like permafrost frozen. It was just really cold. And I was down digging basically an entire pocket full of change, nickels, pennies, dimes, and I was digging this hole bigger and bigger. Just kept finding more coins, and I had my eyes glued to the ground for a good 20-30 minutes. And the next time I looked up, because I couldn't find anything else with my pinpointer, it was snowing all around me. I'm like, oh, where did this come from? I mean, I noticed a couple of flakes come down while I was digging my hole, but I didn't pay attention to them. You know, it wasn't until I looked up and it was like heavy snow all around me. Uncle's standing there next to the truck looking at me saying, "Are you ready to go now?" I'm like, yeah, I guess. I finished my hole.
That's pretty cool. What about you, Hayden? Do you ever have any trouble with frozen ground in Mississippi?
No, like
You guys
yesterday
don't get cold, do you?
Not really. I hunted in a t-shirt yesterday.
Oh, thanks for rubbing it in. I appreciate it.
That's pretty sweet.
Any other questions?
T-shirt yesterday?
Do what?
You hunted in a t-shirt yesterday?
Yep.
Wow. I was I'm wearing long sleeves. I'm in Florida. It's a little chilly here today.
I'm crazy though.
I think we only got up to like 64.
You got any other questions for us, Hayden?
Yeah. King Coin wanted to know. He said if you had to pick one series of U.S. coinage for numismatic value potentially to increase, what do you choose?
One series of U.S. coins for the potential for them to increase in value. You know, this might sound one-sided here, but I would actually pick the Lincoln cent, and here's why. Most other coins, if you take relatively good care of them, they're going to treat you relatively well, and they're going to stay in relatively good shape. Think about Buffalo nickels, think about Roosevelt dimes. They generally don't change color all that much, and if they do, most of the time when they change color, they actually have more value. Think of the Lincoln cent when it's not properly treated. You get a bright red 1930 Lincoln cent. If you don't store it right, it's going to tarnish. If you touch it, it's going to get fingerprints on it. They're extremely persnickety about turning brown, about turning mucky colored and ugly. And if you have a nice pristine red coin and you can store that thing so that it's going to stay dry, so it's going to stay cool, and it's not going to have any oils, finger oils, and other things on it, you're going to have a coin that's going to have potentially more value in the future than one that is made of a more inert metal that won't change colors. That alone, along with the fact that Lincoln cents are more popularly collected than any other coin in the United States history, that's including Morgan dollars. The Lincoln cents are generally every beginner's coin. That's what they start with. The Lincoln cents are also the longest series in world coin history, along with the most minted in world coin history, which means they're available to more collectors in more places.
I didn't realize that that was the most minted coin in world history.
Yes. Actually, the 1980 Philadelphia Lincoln cent, there were 10,800,000,000 of them minted. That is the only single date of one series of coin anywhere in the entire world that was minted over 10 billion in number.
Wow, that's impressive. I did not realize that.
Yep.
See, this is why we have Chuck on here, guys. This is exactly why we have Chuck on here. You know, No one here claims to know everything, and we always learn things every day. And that's one of the things I really enjoy about my discussions with Chuck, privately between the two of us and over these chats.
Hey, Tim had a really good question too. He said, are there any current versions of your book and available, and where are they for sale? Where can you purchase one at?
There's the most current edition of the book is the second edition. It was published in 2005. That's this one right here, and it covers up to I think I cover up to 2004 in this book. But there's not at the time I wrote this book, there wasn't a whole lot known in 2004. Actually, there's a 2004 double die reverse in there, and so the 2004 double die reverse is covered in this particular book. They are available on Amazon.com. They're available at Books A Million. They're available through Transline Supply. That's translinesupply.com. That's the company who actually, they're the subsidiary of the publisher, and they also sell all kinds of coin collecting supplies, and but they sell the books that Xyrus prints, and they're the main distributor of the book at this time.
King Coin wants to know the exact title of the book. Can you hold it up and show it for a minute?
There you go. It's Looking Through Lincoln Cents, A Chronology of a Series by Charles D. Daughtrey.
Yeah, if you go to Amazon.com and look up Charles Daughtrey, you'll find the book.
And spelling on that, Daughtrey.
R-E-Y.
Mm-hmm. And if you look up, if you Google that name, it'll come up with a number of things, including a couple of articles about my artwork that were written and published in Coins Magazine. Just a lot of, it's really kind of neat that all the different work that I've done over time, people have covered it. And Google doesn't forget anything, evidently. Because if I go in and I Google my name, I can find a number of different things that kind of remind me of where I came from and how I've gotten to the point where I am now. Look, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not famous or anything like that, but I've done a lot of work that has put me in certain limelights that has, it's been a hell of a ride.
Would you like to show us that piece of artwork on your easel?
Oh, this one?
Yeah. You showed that one to me recently, and it was very impressive. I thought maybe you'd like to show it to us.
I don't think I've shown this one off at all. This is the, it's my light. This is the most recent drawing that I've been working on. I'm working on a series of all of the different designers of U.S. coins. And this guy right here, I'm going to tilt it this way away from my light.
That's a good angle.
This guy is Anthony DeFrancisci. Anthony DeFrancisci designed the peace dollar. And I'm drawing a portrait of him to go with all of the other portraits in the series. If you want to see the rest of the series, you have to remember how to spell my name again, because the website is cdaughtry.com. It's cdaughtry.com. And if you go there, you can see the whole series. This one, I think, is the 9th one in the series, so I've drawn 8 other coin designers. And that the start of that story is actually interesting as well.
Go ahead.
When I was going to write my book about the Lincoln Cent, the next edition that I never actually got to do, this was 2006. I was going to continue on the Looking Through Lincoln Cents and actually come out with a much larger new edition. And I wanted a picture of Victor David Brenner to put in my book. And I couldn't find a good picture to use of Victor David Brenner that had all the details that I wanted. So I decided to sit down and draw him instead. And I just drew a portrait of him and put him in the book. And as it turned out, I showed the portrait to a couple of people who said I should do prints on that and sell prints because they would be popular and people would buy them. I thought they were joking until I actually did it. And when I did it, that was something that needed to be done more because it was good. And so I actually went onto a coin message board, and I took a poll of the members of the message board as to which of the different coin designers were the most popular to the members of the forum, and the one that came in second place, or one that came in first place, was actually my second drawing, and that was Augustus St. Gaudens. And then my third one was James Barton Longacre, and I was going to go on down the line like that until when I was working on the Longacre, the Baltimore show was coming up. So I traveled to Baltimore, and I was actually going to show the drawing to a friend of mine, Rick Snow, because James Barton Longacre designed the Indian cent, and Rick Snow studies Indian cents. So I took the drawing to show it to him, and as I was headed over to his table, I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turned around, and it was Dave Bowers, and he asked me, "You're that guy that draws people?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." He says, "Well, I'm doing a book on the quarter, and I'd like for you to draw Flanagan for me." So my fourth drawing ended up being John Flanagan because of Q. David Bowers wanted me to do that to put in his book. And that's when Whitman got a hold of me. And every new series book they came out with, I would do the designer for that series, so they would have something to put in their book. And so the Red Book series of different coins, my drawings I think are in 4 or 5 of those books. I've got James Earl Fraser in the nickel book. John Flanagan went in the quarter book. The Longacre went in the Indian cent book. My David Brenner went into the Lincoln cent book, and in fact I wrote the foreword to that book too. But yeah, that's kind of how the whole thing got started. It turned into a career all into itself. But
that's pretty cool.
This is the one that I'm working on right now. I just decided to do Anthony DeFrancisci, who is the designer of the Peace Dollar. And I find it a very fitting thing to do because most people don't know what the designers of our coins ever look like. And so I decided that it would be very fitting to draw pictures of the designers so people would know as much about what the designers look like as they know about what the coins they designed look like.
Bob from bobsdiggingit.com
Yeah.
suggested you should draw yourself to continue the series.
I don't fit. I'm a designer. I'm an artist, but I'm not one of these. I'm not one of these people. You know, all the coins that I've ever designed would fit in a thimble compared to all the coins that some of these guys designed, especially James Barton Longacre. I think he designed 12 different coins that we used in commerce.
Wow.
I mean, that's just amazing. You know, he designed the Flying Eagle cent, the reverse of the Flying Eagle cent. He designed the Indian cent. He designed the $3 gold, the $1 gold. He did the 2-cent coin. He did the 3-cent nickel. He did the shield nickel. I mean, he designed all kinds of coins. I'm nowhere near that class.
I was going to ask you, do you have any of those coins available, like near you?
What the ones I designed? Is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, like the 2 cents and things like that that he designed.
No, I don't actually. I don't have a whole lot of coins other than Lincoln cents. I'm really kind of I'm very staunch about being a specialist in one thing.
Okay, I'm gonna go get a few of my old ones real quick.
Go right ahead, man. It's nice to be able to see this kind of stuff. You know,
so what kind of plans do you have for the future, Chuck?
Plans for the future. Well, right now, copper coins is a little bit of it's in a little disarray right now. We're working on trying to get it cleaned up, get new graphics on it. The graphics haven't been updated on that website since 2001, and they're getting to be a little old. And so we're working on trying to come out with a new version of copper coins. It's easier to drive and is a little easier for people to understand. I'm also working on my other website, lincolncent.com. Right now, it's a complete mess, but hopefully in the next 3 to 6 months, we're actually going to have an operating web store there so I can start selling some of the inventory I have. And writing another book, continuing on the Looking Through Lincoln Cents chronology. It'll probably be a third edition, come out sometime 2016. I've got I'm going to be attending a class sometime soon on doing bas-relief sculpture, which is basically what all coin designers did in order to get their coin designs into production. You have to do a bas-relief sculpture first. It's the thin three-dimensional relief sculpture. I'm taking a class on that, and hopefully that'll turn into doing some more coin designs. I'd really love to be, what I'd really like to do, and this is kind of like the old passion of mine from way back when. I actually want to design a coin that is spent in the United States. I want to design the new quarter after the, after the National Parks Quarter series is gone and done. They're going to need something to use in commerce, and I'd love to be the designer of that quarter. I'd love to be the designer of a dollar coin people actually accept and use, because I think we really need to be using a dollar coin. We need to get rid of the dollar bill. But yeah, I mean, that's what I would like to do.
Do you have any thoughts on designs at this point?
Oh yeah, plenty of them.
Judging by the big smile on your face, I'm thinking you want to keep it close to the vest. That's cool.
Yeah, we don't share things like that until we're ready to.
Absolutely understandable. Hey, Tom, NC Digger on YouTube has a question. What do you consider the holy grail of pennies?
Wow, the holy grail of pennies. Okay, you can go by rarity or you can go by value, and a lot of times they kind of work together. What's that? Oh, that's a Flying Eagle, isn't it?
Yeah.
What is that, a 58?
No, this one, the date is rubbed off of it. I can't really see it, but I think it's 58. And this one is in worse condition, but it has the date on it. You can see the 58 on it, though.
Yeah. Now, on the one that doesn't have a date, do the A and the M of America touch one another, or is there a space between them?
There seems to be a little space between them.
It's probably small letters. That has to be a 58.
I was going to, Tom, that question, this is the holy grail to me, is that Flying Eagle. And there's the reverse that you were talking about earlier that guy designed.
Yep. James Barton designed that. And actually that wreath of corn and tobacco leaves and cotton leaves that go around the back of the Flying Eagle cent, if you look at the design on the $3 gold coin, it's the exact same wreath.
All right, let me get my $3 gold coin real quick.
Oh, you've got a $3 gold coin. Where's your skull at?
No.
Here, let me grab one of my St. Gaudens $20 gold coins here. Oh, yeah, I have a stack of them right here.
You got a whole roll of them?
Yeah. Yeah, you're funny.
Well, what is the holy grail of cents to you?
The holy grail of Lincoln cents. I'm going to have to say it's the 1969 S double die. It's the only genuine known double die that was put into circulation by the United States Mint in San Francisco, that there are fewer than 36 of them known. There's a kind of an interesting story that goes behind the 1969 double die. There was actually a fake double die with no mint mark put out the same year. And the people who made the fake didn't know that the real ones existed. And this double die was so obtuse, it was an extremely widespread. I mean, one Liberty would shoot off this way and the other Liberty would shoot off this way. The doubling was so fantastic that it was like impossible. If you look at In God We Trust, the G of God would overlap the O of God in the doubling. I mean, the lettering spacing was a whole letter off. It just seemed very fantastical that the U.S. Mint would do something like that, and in fact, they did not. These were soft die counterfeit minted coins, and they were put out there as collectibles so that someone would find a couple of them, and then they could start selling the rest. because that's what you want in order to circulate a counterfeit coin. You want to put some of them out there in circulation so people find them, so it's more easy to believe that they're real when you start selling them.
Yeah. Yeah, I got you.
And these counterfeit 1969 double die Lincoln cents got the attention of the Secret Service, and they were actually out there they were confiscating these coins, and that's right about the time that the 1969 S double dice started surfacing. And of course, the Secret Service was confiscating those too. And a number of those got confiscated when people found them back in 1969. And it wasn't until a couple of years later that the Mint came out and says, you know what? We did actually produce those accidentally, and they are real. Well, a lot of the people who had them confiscated by the Secret Service never got the coins back.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone the fact that they're rare. There's an interesting story behind them. A number of them were confiscated by the United States government and never returned. And that finding one today is such a rarity and such an almost impossible task. I'd have to say that's the holy grail of Lincoln cents.
Good answer. Hey, I got one more question I'm going to ask. My buddy Joe, known as Popo Jojo 7 on YouTube, he wants to know your opinion of the possibility of discontinuing the penny.
Well, we can go back to 1985 and talk about that because they've been planning it since 1985.
This is true.
I think all the different times that they have gone through the effort of actually coming up with a different composite to make the coins out of, I would think if they were going to get rid of it, they probably would have done it by now instead of spending all the effort and time that they did to come up with the zinc cent in 1982, and the fact that they have since tested other composites of steel and aluminum and other things that they're considering changing the Lincoln cent to. This was 2009 or 2010 I started seeing this surface that they're actually trying to come up with something to change Lincoln cents to, and they're actually they're working on trying to change the nickel as well. And if there was any real talk, any serious talk about getting rid of the coins altogether, I don't think they would be doing a lot of talk about trying to change the composition. So it's kind of a one or the other thing. I don't think it's both. Honestly, I think our government moves way too slowly to plan on losing the cent anytime in the next decade. After that, it's kind of hard to say because, we are kind of moving to a society of getting rid of coins altogether. And, I don't hardly ever use cash money anymore. I use my debit card a lot.
Me too.
And, so, you have to kind of think about that.
Yeah, good point, good point. I too have been hearing talk of getting rid of the penny since I was in high school. This has been going on for a number of years, and I tend to agree with you that if they were going to do something, it probably would have happened by now. But then again, it also makes sense to your point that, they do drag their feet.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. And also to your point about, debit cards. I mean, I rarely use cash anymore unless I'm in a situation that demands it.
Right. Yeah. Here we are 30 years, or a little less, maybe more than 30 years post-haste to the initial design and release of a small-sized dollar coin, and the government still doesn't have it right. So, we could go another 20 years before any other changes occur that are marketable changes. One of the things that really, I guess it really impressed me, but then at the same time it really surprised me that they came out with the statehood quarter designs and started and actually fulfilled that program all the way to the end. And now they're doing the national parks quarters, and they're talking about fulfilling it all the way to the end. That's a good on you to the U.S. Mint, because that's really hard to do, change the design that many times inside of a year and mint coins enough for commerce and make them for collectors too. They're doing a really good job with that. The whole thing about the cent and the need for the cent, rounding down, rounding up, charging to the nearest nickel, things like that.
There are too many cheapskates in this country to allow that to happen.
Well, but it's a debatable topic because The experts and the accountants who are on the government side with this, they say that if you round up to the nearest nickel or round down to the nearest nickel, depending on whether you're at the 2-cent cusp or the 3-cent cusp, they say that we actually break even doing that, and that there is no one to make money at that except the fact that we're not making 20 billion pennies every year anymore, and the entire nation is saving money. But you want to talk about an entire nation saving money, there's a whole nother show where we could talk about giving up making dollar bills and making dollar coins that we'll actually spend.
What do you think of the current presidential dollar series?
I think it's a waste of time. Nobody collects them. It's a waste of time. They're making them for collectors. People collect the proofs. They may hold on to a roll, here and there once in a while, but break it right down to the soup and nuts of the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of them sitting in vaults that'll never be used. The government is actually filling up warehouses with these things, and nobody wants them. They're going to have to get rid of the $1 bill. When they get rid of the $1 bill, people will be clamoring for the coins, trying to get to them and spend them.
Now, let me ask you something. Do you think it's because we have the dollar coin and the dollar bill is the reason why people don't want to use the dollar coins, or do you think it's the coin itself?
No, it's the fact that we have dollar bills. That's what people are used to. You go all the way back to the 1960s, 50s and 60s were the last time when people actually had dollar coins in their pockets that they spent. Forget about the Eisenhower dollar. That was a failed. That was failed from the beginning in '71 when they first started coming out. The large coins, the large silver dollars, the peace dollars, the Morgan dollars, they were the ones that everybody spent back in the day. And they didn't complain about having a large coin in their pocket that represented a dollar because a dollar was actually worth something.
That's right.
And now you get to a point where you've got these, well, we called them Carter quarters back in the day. I don't know how many people actually know what that means.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
It's the SBAs.
Exactly. Susan B. Anthony's. Jimmy Carter was president when those came out, and so we called them Carter quarters. And the Carter quarters started in 1979. They ran through 1981. I worked in a convenience store in the 1980s during my high school days, and I received a number of Susan B. Anthony dollars as quarters. And if I wasn't a coin collector, I wouldn't have even noticed. I'd have just stuck them in the drawer and wrapped them up as quarters because they were so similar in size. Yeah, you have to step forward from 1981 to 2001, another 20 years, before we actually made a coin that looked like something that would actually circulate, which was the Sacagawea dollar. Problem being, people didn't want to spend them by that time because from the 1950s up through 2001, we used dollar bills as the mainstay of our commerce for a $1 negotiable piece. So what's the point in changing away from that? People ask. They're used to $1 bills. They fold. They stick in their wallets. They're easy to carry. The problem with it, and I'll just be really brief about this because it's not really in the scope of tonight's conversation, but to be really brief about it, it costs 85 cents to make a dollar bill, and it lasts 6 months. It takes 2 cents to make a dollar coin, and it lasts 25 years. Do the math.
Yeah. That's a great point. Fantastic point. Hayden, do you have any questions?
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. The very next question we had was from Super Neo wanted to know if you will be at the Baltimore Coin Show.
No, unfortunately, I won't be. I am able, with my job and the coin designing that I do, I'm able to actually attend 2 shows per year. And this year I will be at the ANA World's Fair of Money in Chicago. That's coming up in August. I don't remember the exact dates, but you can go to money.org. That's the ANA website, and you can find out exactly when that show is. I will be working with Modern Coin Mart at that show. And we go to the Fun Show every January. And so I'll be at the Fun Show. I was at the Fun Show back in January of 15. I'll be at the Fun Show again January 16.
Okay. Fadoodle also wanted to know if you knew anything about the Wisconsin quarter with the high leaf error.
High leaf and low leaf.
Yeah.
There's actually, if you, it's 2004 P Wisconsin quarters. There was a normal design, and then there was a random stray mark that looked like an extra leaf in the corn cob. And then there was another one where another stray mark made another lower leaf, and so you've got basically what boiled down to three different designs. The two high leaf, low leaf designs are purported to be a single die, so those would be a die error because it's something marked onto the die, a gouge of some sort that ended up minting into a whole bunch of coins. At one time, they were really popular, and I think a set of the three coins, the normal, the low leaf, and the high leaf, would sell for over $500. Right now, I'm not really sure what they sell for.
Hey, Hayden, I'd like to take the opportunity real quick to send a special shout-out to somebody that I hope's listening this evening, Pink Cotton Candy. I'd like to send a shout-out to her. Hopefully she's listening.
Also, I have a list of new people that came in, too.
Awesome.
We're also joined by Coin Keeper out there.
All right.
And Numis MN, Mr. Crabinet stopped by. Will Hornbuckle's here. Somebody said giveaway. Popo Jojo. We got Popo Jojo out there. We got the Fight Doctor, the Vendor Dude, Fadoodle, King Coin, TR Preppers out there, Diggers in the house, Gage Stutter, Ohio Metal Detecting. Huh?
Gage had to leave. It's getting kind of late for him.
We also got Tim Brigham out there, STL Tony, Nathaniel Catch, and Baghair 2021.
Yeah, I'd like to send a special shout-out to my buddy Nathaniel Catch.
Also, Digger wanted to know how much was that Holy Grail coin worth that you were talking about earlier?
The 1969S double die.
Yeah.
In extremely fine condition, which is generally about the lowest condition that you would find one in that had circulated, they're going to run about $10,000. You get up to Mint State 64, Mint State 65 red. You're talking about $150,000 to $200,000 coin.
Yeah, I'll take two.
Yeah.
Man.
I give you one of mine, but I've never found one.
And just think about that, people out there. You can have that in your change. You can go to the store and get a pack of chewing gum and get that back in your change.
Story I've got to go on that. I used to be in the eBay coin chat back in 97, 98, 99. And I was talking to a guy about varieties. And he reached around and grabbed the Whitman folder that he had filled up when he was a kid. This guy lived in Southern California. And lo and behold, when he opened up his Whitman folder, his 69S was one of the genuine double dies.
Nice.
Wow. And he didn't even know he had it until he talked to me.
Well, that's kind of a dream come true right there, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this was I still remember the guy's name. And that was a moment. That was one of the really good moments in life, you know, when you can tell somebody, hey, you just hit the jackpot, and they didn't even know it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Coin Keeper wanted to know how much does it cost to print $1? Is there a difference between printing $1 and $100 bill in price? I'm pretty sure it's not.
No, actually, well, there is a difference because the $100 bill has a lot of counterfeiting measures on it now.
That's right.
You've got a security stripe that's 3D when you shine UV light into it. It's got different kinds of ink that shift colors when you tilt the bill. It's got a number of things that dollar bills don't have. $1 bills are the only piece of paper currency that we still spend that don't have any counterfeiting measures on them at all. And so they're the cheapest to make. I believe the last time I heard it cost somewhere between 85 and 90 cents to make every $1 bill. And for, well, okay, the $2 bill also doesn't have any counterfeiting measures in it, but $2 bills are very infrequently made. You get up to $5 all the way up to the $100. Those cost about the same amount to make a piece, which is just over $1. And you know, you take just over $1 to make a $100 bill. Well, that sounds like a really good profit. But
Yeah.
we make a lot more $1 bills than we do $100 bills.
Fair
We
point.
got another really good question out there. Numis MM wants to know, Chuck, are you based in Florida, where MCM is located, or elsewhere? And did you design both the alligator and cougar MCM coins?
Yes. I actually work for Modern Coin Mart. I'm the marketing director of Modern Coin Mart. I do all of the advertising, all of the other things, and I did do the design for the alligator coin and for the Florida Panther coin.
And you are
So that's,
located in Florida.
that's why I live in Florida, because I work
There
for
you
Modern Coin Mart. I'm from Missouri.
Hey, Chuck, it's 10 o'clock. You want to hang out for a little while longer?
Sure, I'm all open.
Cool.
I'll probably stick around for another hour or so in case there's more questions, or if anybody wants to just get on and talk. I'm game.
Okay, Hayden, you got any more questions from the gallery?
That's what I'm looking for right now. See if I missed any. Just give me a second to catch up, but then I'll have new list of shout outs.
Okay. So, Chuck,
Yeah.
I understand you have designed some coins, and you mentioned a couple of them. Are there any other coins you've designed?
There's actually a total of 4 so far. And
Do you have any
we're
examples handy?
actually, I've got a couple of them here. This one right here is the trying to get a good lighting angle that doesn't look nasty. This is the Florida alligator coin. This was designed for the 2014 Fun Show in Orlando, and this was the first in a series of coins that we designed for Florida natives. And it would give people. It's got the queen on the flip side, and the queen on the flip side is because this coin was minted by the Perth Mint of Australia, and it is minted for the government of Tuvalu, which is a small ring atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. This particular coin we had minted because we wanted people to be able to leave the fun show with a memento of Florida. So we decided that a Florida native series of coins showing the native wildlife of Florida was a good idea. And I can see now by looking at the screen, I'm not really getting this in focus very well. The new coin in this series, well, see, this is the box for the Florida alligator coin that we put out in 2014. And then here's the box for the Panther coin that we just put out last month. And Panther coin, I don't know if this one actually has a coin in it or not. No, I don't have my coin hasn't been graded yet, so I don't have the actual coin here. But that's one series that we did, was the Florida natives, and then we have another series. It's kind of a trailer onto the designers of U.S. coins, the drawings that I did. We were going to do a coin to put out at the ANA show, and it was one of those things that we wanted to do something that tied coins into our design. And I suggested that we do the designers of U.S. coins on coins that commemorated the ANA show. And so we decided in a committee together that doing Augusta St. Gaudens on a coin would be very fitting for the occasion. And so we designed, put this together. I don't know how well this is going to come out.
Tilt it down a little bit.
That's even worse. Hang on a second. Let me see how I can do this. There you go.
Ah, that looks good.
You got a nice sharp focus?
Yep, looks good from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, this is Augusta St. Gaudens, and the the label up there is actually a label I designed for NGC, and then the coin that I designed here. This is the first in what will be a series of coins, also from Tuvalu, also minted by the Perth Mint of Australia, that will depict designers of United States coins. And I don't know, I suppose if you look over my shoulder up here, there's actually a poster on the wall that we advertised this particular coin when it first came out. And these very posters actually sat in the lobby out at the show on easels during the time that we were selling the coins. There is a new one coming out for this year. The design is already in for approval. It's of Adolf Weinman. Adolf Weinman is the designer of the Walking Liberty half dollar and the Mercury dime. And so those are the four coins. And then there's another one, which is this lion coin from Burundi. This was the idea of a committee of people in the company who wanted to do something that was just really striking and different, and so we designed this series of coins. This is the first one in the series that has a lion, African lion, on it, and the other side, get it flipped over here. The other side actually has Republic of Burundi on it. And this one comes in uncirculated. There's 50,000 minted. It comes in proof. There's can't remember how many proofs we made. I think it's 1,000. Yeah, 1,000 proof. Shows right here in the certificate of authenticity that there were 1,000 proof coins minted. And there's a gilt proof. There's only 500 of those. And then there is a colorized proof, and there's only 500 of those. And so there's actually 4 different manifestations of the same design issued this year. And we're working on the 2016 coins now, where we're actually considering going into different sizes.
Hey, I noticed Tim Brigham in the chat room mentioned that he went to Amazon and bought your book.
Ah, great.
He
Awesome.
mentioned that they only have 2 left in stock.
Only 2 left in stock. Yeah, actually, it's at a point now they had to keep them in print for 5 years, and it's been more than 5 years, so they don't even have to keep them in print anymore. So they could be running dry. I'm glad I have 100 of them in my attic, huh?
Well, you got my address.
Yeah, got your address.
CoinKeeper wants to know, what's your favorite silver dollar and why?
My favorite silver dollar and why? This is going to sound a little bit odd, but the 1891S. The reason the 1891S is my favorite is because my mother had one in her jewelry box, and I mistook it for the very valuable, which one was it, the 93 or the 94? Maybe I've got that backwards. I don't really know that very well. But it's one of the estimate 1890s silver dollars that my mom had in her jewelry box, and I thought that she had something really, really, really valuable, and it turned out that it wasn't the really valuable one. But it provided a lot of memories to me that I keep to this day, and so I think the Morgan dollar specifically, I think it was the 91S. I can't remember which one was a really valuable one. 93S is a really valuable one, so it was a 91S that I had.
Yeah, the 91S is
Common date.
5 million common date. Yeah.
Yeah.
You say the 93S?
Yeah,
Yeah,
93S
you
is
made
like,
100,000 of that one.
it was the 91S that I had, and that's my favorite, and that's why. Not because it was really valuable or not because it's Holy Grail or anything, but because I had one that came out of my mother's jewelry box, and it brought back a lot of memories. Now, the one that she had was basically in Basel state. It was a really not numismatically valuable coin at all. But sometimes coin collecting isn't about value. Sometimes it's about the sentimental value that you have with certain things. You know, I've got pennies that I found on the ground during family trips and stuff that I was actually a nerd enough that I would pick the pennies up and I'd put them in a little piece of paper and stick them in my pocket, writing on the piece of paper where and when I found the penny. And when I got home, I'd put it in a flip. And I've got a whole collection of pennies that I picked up off the ground when my son was a little child growing up. And one of these days I'll give those pennies to him and he'll see, you know, found at the gas station in Lincoln, Missouri in, 2000, and we were going to see Mark Twain's place in Hannibal. And I think it's just really interesting, you know, when you can have coins that don't have any value at all except to the person who's collecting them.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned the sentimental aspect. You know, a lot of people ask me when they watch my coin roll hunting videos why I have the 1966 and the 1976 printed in red. Well, the obvious answer is 1966 is the year I was born. And there are a lot of people out there that collect their birth year coins.
Mm-hmm.
And the 76 is a lot less obvious. I mean, you know, the bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollars. Well, that's obvious. You know, some people collect those. But I also collect the pennies and nickels. And it's because 1976 was a special year for me, not only because of the bicentennial, but because of a special family vacation that we took that year.
Okay.
And for sentimental reasons, I like to collect anything 1976, even Canadian coins. You know, and it brings back memories of that trip. And it was a really, really wonderful time in my life, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's always fun to you know, be going through rolls of pennies and find a really nice looking 76, and I just, you know, it clicks.
You know that there's something very interesting about the 1976 quarters. There were no 1975 dated quarters made because all of the quarters made during 1975 were actually the bicentennial quarters.
That's right, yeah.
So there's two dates on a bicentennial quarter. Neither of them are the date the quarters were made in some cases. Now, they made the 76 bicentennial quarters through 1976, so if you do have a bicentennial quarter, there's no way of knowing what year it was actually made.
Yep, I've actually heard that story. That's pretty interesting. And I understand, didn't they do that with pennies in the mid-60s as well?
Actually, in the mid-60s, they just removed the mint marks from the coins so people would quit hoarding them. Seemed that there was a lot of roll hoarding going on back in the late 50s and early 60s, and they decided to put a stop to it by removing the mint marks from the coins. So for a period of 3 years, there were no mint marks on Lincoln cents, and that's why.
There you go. Thanks for clarifying that. I knew I'd heard something, and I couldn't quite bring it up.
Well, you might have also heard about the 1964 nickels and why there are just so many 1964 nickels.
They produced them into 65 and 6, didn't they?
Yes, they produced them all the way up to May of 1966. And so 1964 nickel, you don't really know when it was made.
So does this mean that there are no 1965 nickels?
Don't test me on nickels. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I you know, like I mentioned a moment ago, I collect, you know, my birth year coins.
Right.
And I do notice that there are very few 66 nickels out there.
Yep. I'm actually holding a roll of BU 1966 Lincolns for you.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You've got
I'll get it sent up to you sometime soon, but 50 shiny new pennies from 1966.
Oh, wow.
That would be an extraordinary addition to my display cabinet.
It's
Hey,
yours.
guys.
I'm leaving it up there. Yeah.
Man, we got some awesome people that just joined us. Really cool people. Man, we got SKS Hugo. We got Desert Rebel. We got Lady Lumberjack 1943. GI Customs is in the house. Quicksilver, the Token, and I'm a Redneck Cockerhound.
Wow, some really great names. Thanks for checking in, folks. I really, really appreciate it.
1943. That was an interesting year for Lincoln Cents.
Oh yeah.
I just saw another story on them today. I don't remember where it came from, but it had something to do with the 43s and the fact that there was a coin shop, a coin dealer, and there was a foreign news agency that came in to interview them about coins, and somehow the topic of conversation got moved over to the 1943 copper pennies and how valuable they were. And I can remember back in 2002, Paul Harvey did a story. It's one of those rest of the story things on the 1943 copper pennies. No, it was actually when he was reporting the news. Basically, it was a guy in Idaho who had a dish on top of his refrigerator that he kept pennies in, and he found this 1943 penny made of copper, and decided to put it in this dish and save it for later so he could get a dealer to look at it and see if it was real. And his wife raked all the coins out of this dish and took them to the store and spent them. And so Paul Harvey was reporting that this $500,000 1943 penny was out there in circulation, and someone would likely end up with it because it was out there circulating around. So look for your 1943 pennies and look for them to be made of copper. You can't imagine what a headache that caused for every coin dealer in the country, and the plethora of calls that they received from people thinking that they had found a valuable 1943 penny when they found all of the quote-unquote lead and steel and zinc and all the other metals that they were calling them.
You know, I was going through a collection recently for the guy that does my coin sales for me.
Okay.
He had made a purchase at an estate sale and got somebody's collection in 3-ring binders, and I started with the penny binder, and I was going through there, and I came across a 1943 copper. But, of course, upon closer inspection, it was plated. But for a minute there, I was like...
You know, even those, if they're done very well, they could sell for $10, $15, $20. I mean, there's a number of them out there that are really shoddily made. They're just not very good at all. But then there are also a number of them that were made very well, and the copper is very solid and it looks really good. Those things can bring some money on the collector's market.
Well, this one looks pretty good, but you can see a great big scratch.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's probably not going to be worth too much, but the collection that I went through did have some interesting things in it. I mentioned to you it had the what is it? The 1893 Columbia Exposition $50.
Yes.
And believe it or not, of all things, in the bottom of the box, an 18-karat gold pocket knife.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still have the collection in my other room in here. I've made it about halfway through.
Oh, you've made it halfway through. Mm-hmm. I'm working on going through a box. As I go to shows, the smaller shows, sometimes I get all the way through the show and look at all the Lincoln Cents in the show that I care to look at. And I've still got time to hang around, or I've still got time to kill. And so I end up looking through nickels, I look through dimes, I look through quarters, I look through $50. Well, over all the years that I've been doing what I do, I've been finding double die nickels and repunch mint mark dimes and double die quarters and other stuff like that. And I just started going through, after 20 years of digging these things out of dealers' boxes, I just started going through and actually labeling them and putting them in binders. And I must have close to 1,000 coins of other denominations that are double dies and repunch mint marks that I'm finally going through marking and putting away.
Suspicious item.
You hear that? You hear that, Hayden?
Your virus.
Suspicious item is detected.
Dude, that scared
I
the
was
crap out of me the other day.
I know, that's why I mentioned it. Hey, can you go ahead and send the link to the chat to Seth? See if we can get him in here. Can you send that to his Facebook, or you want me to do it?
I'm not on Facebook right now.
Well, let me see if I can do it.
Okay.
I don't know if I can or not. We'll find out.
CoinKeeper has a question. She said, which is Chuck's favorite, the Colonial coin?
Oh, the Colonials?
Yeah. The Massachusetts or the New Jersey coppers?
There's one that has a horse and a plow on it. I like that one the most, but I can't remember what state that is. I believe... I have to look it up. Let me look it up real quick. Photographed hundreds of these things. I can't remember what they are.
I've got an old copper right here. While you're looking it up, I can show this to everybody.
Did you find a Colonial?
No, it's an 1846 large stamp.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you find that?
No, I got it off eBay. I couldn't. No, only Tom's lucky enough to find 10 of these in one hole.
God. The one I'm talking about is New Jersey.
New Jersey?
Yeah,
okay.
Nova Caesaria on it, which is New Jersey. 1788. It's got a shield on one side. It says E Pluribus Unum, and on the other side, it has a horse's head above a plow.
Oh, wow. Here's a 2 cent. You were talking about the guy that designed the reverse of it.
Right, James Longacre.
Here's the obverse of it with the 2. And here's the
reverse.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, the obverse has the date and the shield.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the obverse then, with the shield.
I've actually spent time and have found a number of the ones. Do you know how to tell the difference between the large motto and the small motto 1864s if the motto is completely worn smooth?
No. I don't know much about them. I just recently got this one because I just wanted some old coinage.
Well, in 1864, they started off making them with a smaller size motto, and for some reason they decided to change really early on in the production of the coins to a larger motto. And most of the balance of the 1864 2-cent coins were made with the larger motto. And so they're a lot more populous. There's a lot more of them out there than the small motto. And the way that you can tell the difference between them is to look at the top left berry where the shield is, and there's olive branches and there's an olive berry there. And if the stem is curved toward the shield, then it's a large motto. If it's curved away from the shield, it's a small motto. And you can tell that without even being able to see the motto.
Oh, I didn't even know that, man. Learn something new every day.
When it comes to coins, I do too.
There's so much information. I mean, you really do learn something new every day.
Hey, Chuck, I've invited a few people in, okay?
Yeah, sure.
We've got Tim Brigham,
yep,
buddy Tim, and we've got Seth, who you know. Hey, guys, feel free to join in the conversation, but let's respect each other and try not to talk over each other, okay?
There's olive branches and there's an olive berry.
Seth?
Hey, is there any way we can get King Coin in here? He's a really cool dude.
I don't know how to send him the link. I don't have him.
Just send it to him in his YouTube messages.
Okay, I will try to do that.
Okay.
Wanting some nickels. Just got a 45p.
Oh, got a cool.
45p nickel?
Tim Brigham.
Yo. Am I still getting feedback on you guys?
No, you're good now.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to connect my external microphone.
Oh.
So you're hearing my fan on my computer.
Well,
yeah,
left out.
Sounds like somebody needs to turn down their to mute their YouTube feed though.
I think it's actually Tim's TV.
I got my TV muted, but I don't have my Facebook muted.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, mute that for us, okay?
Will Hornbuckle wants to join.
I found something cool tonight.
What did you?
All right, Will, I got you covered, buddy.
Can you all see that?
Oh, you found a treasury penny.
Yep.
There
Denver
we
Mint.
go. It was me.
So did that
Denver
come in
Mint.
roll stuff?
Yeah.
That's kind of
That's
cool.
pretty cool. Yep, my first one. And this was in a roll. It's like paint or something, but it has a E pluribus, like the back of another penny on it, like imprinted
okay.
on it. So I thought that was neat, but I'm going to just scrape it off and toss it back.
Hey, Chuck, can you move a little bit to your left, please? Thank you.
Oh, okay, was I out of frame?
Yeah, we could only see your ear.
Okay, I'm not used to being on camera, so I have to be told how to handle it. Nothing happened to me. I'm right here.
He's still here.
Do what?
Numa's MM is trying to tell me something.
Tim, do you have anything you'd like to ask of Chuck?
Not really right offhand. I was paying a lot of attention to everything he had to say, a lot of good information. I did go to Amazon and pick up that book, which I think that would be pretty cool. No, I think most of the questions that I might have had were also asked by other people, too.
Okay.
I have a question.
Maybe I do have one. The state quarters, I know not very many people are collecting them, and they're not worth all that much, but I did come across a couple of painted ones, colored ones. Any specific information on the colored ones?
You mean like gold and platinum and silver-plated ones, or ones that have actually been colorized?
Colorized, painted, or I don't know, but I mean,
Yeah, I'll tell you, the mint didn't actually make those that way, and those are all done by private companies that are doing whatever they can to make a buck. Yep. And that's actually where those came from. Was they came out of mint rolls, went into some sort of process where they were putting decals or something on them to colorize them, and then putting them back out for sale at a profit. And that's what those are from.
Here's
okay.
a colorized silver
Here's a
eagle.
colorized silver eagle. Yeah.
I got a question non-coin related.
Okay, hold on a second, Steph. Hold on. I want to take an opportunity to welcome Will into the chat. How you doing, Will?
Oh, me? Oh, thank you.
Who, me? Yeah, Mr. Prize winner over there.
I'm feeling pretty neglected.
No, you just had to wait for me to stop rattling my brains.
All right, carry on.
$500 bills.
Okay, Seth, go ahead, buddy.
Do banks still carry $500 bills?
Yeah.
The banks don't make them. They don't make $500 bills anymore. And you'd be lucky to find one because the last one in circulation was in the 1930s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you're saying this 1984 $500 bill I have is counterfeit?
There's a high likelihood.
Hey, the vendor dude had a really good question about 1972 Lincoln cents. He said, how many different varieties are there, and why are there, or why are there so many?
Well, that goes into another story. There are 15 different ones known right now, and the reason it's believed, and this is mainly speculation from the coin community, that there was a die worker there who was too lazy to bother trying to fit the dies into the machines properly. So they filed off the keys that forced the die in one particular alignment into the hubbing press, and so that's why they jolted around and moved around, and there were so many different double dies made. And they were hung on the presses to make coins and weren't noticed until after the effect, and well, voila, they're already out there, so there's nothing they could do about them at that point.
What can you tell us about the 83 copper penny? Does it exist, and how many are there?
Yeah, actually, just recently, like within the last month, there was an 83D found. And there's 2 or 3 1983 planes that are known. Basically, what happened is the planchets, once they're cut and put together to be minted, they put them in large hoppers, almost like a hopper car, and sometimes they'll ride along and get stuck along the edge of the hopper. Hopper is dumped out into the minting press, and they're stacked and minted into coins, and the hopper remains behind, and perhaps other planchets get put in there that are of a different composition. The next time the hopper gets dumped back in the following year, these ones that were on the sides dislodge, and they end up getting minted into coins. And so the 1983 copper, transitional copper Lincoln cents, are actually from 1982 planchets that were not intended to be made. So there wasn't a super rare 1983 issue. It's actually an error.
Interesting. Interesting. I had heard a story that I was skeptical about, that there was actually a mint worker who made them intentionally.
That could be possible. I mean, I don't see any reason why it couldn't happen. However, there's one small problem with them being able to get out of the mint with them, because they have to go through metal detector systems and security to get out of work. So there's another story that goes back to 1958. There's a really, really super double die obverse known for 1958, but there's only 2 coins known. And it is speculated that a mint worker was actually able to clandestinely make these double die coins, put them in a bag, and mark the bag so that when the bag got out of the mint and got to the bank facility, that someone working there would know how to find the mark on the bag and pull the right bag out and buy it, so they could go through it and find these 2 coins.
Wow.
And so that could have happened with the 83 Lincolns, but it's my speculation that it's far more likely that they were leftover planchets that just happened to be made.
I am a firm believer in Occam's razor, and I think you're probably right.
What's up, Will?
Oh, question.
Yes.
What if I took this in and demanded my $1 in silver? What are they going to tell me?
They're going to give you something that's about the size of a thimble.
Really? They would?
No, actually, the silver certificates were demonetized for silver, I think, in 1965.
Crap.
So silver certificates are just simply $1 bills, $5 bills, whatever.
At this point, that's true. I saw Nunes MM mention that they had to quit making the 500s and the $1,000 bills because of drug cartels. There's a little bit of an issue with that, because the drug cartels didn't come out until many years after they stopped making the notes. The reason they stopped making the notes was because they were not necessary for commerce, because at the time they were making these, they were made as treasury transfer notes. Basically, a stack of $500 bills took up a lot less room than a stack of $1 bills of the same value.
A lot less weight, a lot less room.
So if they needed to transfer $10,000 from one bank to another one to pay for a lot of coins or something else, they would use these high-value notes to do that. And it just got to a point where they had other means of taking care of it and didn't need the high-value notes anymore.
What is that, Will?
It's a Singapore dollar.
Oh, okay.
Get a couple of them.
I was going to show this to y'all too. This is a blank planchet.
Is it?
For a penny.
Yeah, what do you think of the blank planchettes? I actually have one of those as well.
They actually come in two different forms, and in fact, Lincoln Cent planchets come in three different forms. The one that Hayden has a raised rim around the edges, correct?
Mine does as well.
Okay. Actually, there are different names for these. There really is no such thing as a blank planchet because a blank and a planchet are two different things.
No, the rim's not raised.
Well, is it? Can you hold it up again so I can look at it?
Well, a tiny bit.
Yeah, that's what it would be.
Very tiny bit.
Yeah, okay, that is. It's not going to be squared off raised, but it is raised up a little bit.
Yeah, can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. That's a. Okay, so let me explain a little bit about the process of how the blanks that we make coins on are made.
Okay.
They start out as big, giant coiled rolls of metal, and they go through what's known as a blanking press. And a blanking press is basically like a cookie cutter. It's got a whole bunch of little punches on it that punch out the little round pieces, and it punches out 5, 10 of them at a time on this strip. The strip runs through, and it sounds like a machine gun when it's going off. It's like pop, 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 and you get thousands of these things inside of a minute. I mean, it's really amazing watching these machines work.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they first blank out the circles, the discs that are going to be coins, they're called blanks. And once the blanks are punched, they go into a machine that basically squeezes in the edges of the blank, and as it rolls around a groove, and it squeezes that edge in, and it rolls that rim up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's called, the machine is called an upset mill, and once the blanks have been upset, they're turned into planchets. So now they're planchets ready to be made into coins.
Okay.
The zinc coins, the zinc Lincoln cents, are not actually bathed with copper until after they've been upset. So in the blank process, the coins are silver colored. In the upset process, the coins are still silver colored. And then they're bathed in their copper, and then they're copper colored before they're minted into coins.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Somewhere around here I've got a set of all the different stages of how they make them.
I got a quick question again.
Okay.
See a lot of people are saving the 82s and 83s of just about every denomination. I'm going through nickels right now. I'm finding the 82s and 83s. As I'm looking at my book here, specifically the 83s, the mintages aren't low, but yet their values are up. 82s, I mean, the mintages are lower, but still not low enough to explain the value. That's just nickels. I mean, I know the the quarters and stuff, the mintages are low, but what's your take on the 82s and 83s?
It's pretty easy. No mint sets. They didn't make mint sets those years, so there's no uncirculated mint set coins. So all of the coins people collect that are supposed to be in really nice condition had to come out of circulation. So a whole lot of the rolls were busted open and searched for the coins out of circulation. And due to slightly lower mintage, due to people digging through the rolls and pulling out the nice coins, there's not many left that did not turn up circulated. So the fewer there are with the same demand, the more valuable they become because there's fewer of them out there to go around.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, the vendor dude says the same thing. For nickels, it's because of no mint sets.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to find an 82 or an 83 in really good shape with steps is a pretty good find.
Hey, Drew.
Yo.
Numis MM wants to know how did we meet Chuck and how did we get him on the show?
Let's see. I met Chuck.
I just kind of showed up on the doorstep, didn't I?
Yeah, yeah. He was drawn in by our greatness, Jack.
I think I found. I
He
believe
was
I
on Coin Roll Hunting and Curiosities page on Facebook.
on Facebook. I found that group on Facebook through a couple of other coin groups that I briefly participated in, and was immediately enthralled by the idea that you guys actually do live shows, and I kind of joined in to one of the live shows just to see what was going on, and it was the Supradrew show, and I remember there were like 7 or 8 people in the video chat all at the same time, and I kept typing over on the chat on the side that I could answer that question. Hey, I know what that is. Hey, I know what's going on. And then Hayden finally saw me, and he was like, "Wait, there's this guy. He knows the answer to this. He knows what this is. You guys need to be quiet and let him say his thing." And that eventually turned into. I guess I actually participated in that show for a while, and then it was over the last couple of weeks. Drew had his unfortunate issue with health problems and was unable to do the show back when we had planned on it. It was 2 weeks ago we planned on doing the show, and finally tonight Drew's luckily back in better health and we're able to do this show. So here I am.
Yeah, I remember the good old days.
I appreciate you bearing with me, Chuck. It was a tough couple weeks, but I'm finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And doing this show with you makes me feel a lot better, buddy.
I'm just glad you're all better, and I'm happy to be here.
Hey, Hayden, you see Rolling Stone Zero has a question?
Yeah, I'm getting out there.
Thanks. In fact, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. To have the gout checked out, to pick up my new prescription for a drug that's going to prevent the gout, and to also have the heart murmur looked at. So, I'm taking care of myself, doing what I got to do. You know what I'm saying?
That's great. Well, hopefully the doctor gives you a clean bill of health and says everything's just fine.
Well, the last time I was there, I had a weigh-in, and she took all of my numbers, my sugar, my blood pressure, my, everything. And she turns to me and tells me I'm doing great. She's really happy with my progress, and she took me off of the cholesterol meds.
Oh, awesome. Always nice when you can come off of the medication.
Yeah, I have some goals that I'm still working towards. I'm not there yet, but I'm still working on it. It's makes me feel good when people recognize it, and
Yeah. Rolling Stone has one for you. It says, "Hey Drew, I have a 1961 Jefferson nickel with a back. Jefferson's head kind of rolled up into itself. The Monticello building is the same way."
Well, I know you're not really a nickel expert. Do you have any knowledge on that one?
Yeah, that particular case sounds like it's going to be die wear of some sort. Nickel is the hardest metal that we make coins out of, and they really treat those dies rough when those coins are being minted. And a lot of the issues that you see on the design on a nickel are caused by the fact that the dies are overused and the coins are extremely hard.
Yeah, nickel is not soft like silver and gold and copper. It's a lot harder, that composite.
And it also registers a lot lower on a detector.
Mm-hmm.
You'll think pull tab every time until you know what you're doing with nickels.
Yep, I dug one yesterday.
A nickel or a pull tab?
Both. Both same signal.
Well, the difference is a nickel's going to give you one solid tone, and a pull tab will usually give you 2 blips.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a few questions out here, actually. Hayden, you're falling behind, buddy.
Come on, Hayden.
I'm writing them down and stuff, but Y'all can get them if y'all want to.
Go ahead, Hayden. What do you
I
got?
just slowed down a bit now.
Desert Rebel's asking me if I plan on doing something for a gold coin in the future. Yes.
Yeah, I got that wrote down.
That's all I can say for right now. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't give you a whole lot of details, but yes, there is going to be a gold coin minted with my design on it.
What else you got, Hayden? You got any other questions written down?
Yeah, vendor dudes. No, I don't have any more wrote down right now. Vendor dudes was the last one I wrote down. And then I've been keeping up with names coming in.
So I got a question for you, Chuck. What do you suppose is the prize coin in your collection? The one that you would absolutely part with last?
That's actually almost hard to answer because I don't really consider myself a collector. I mean, I have a lot of coins, but I study coins more than I actually collect coins. So I would say, I mean, probably the prizes in my collection or in my master set are the ones that I got from gentlemen who started me in attributing die varieties who are now deceased, and I still have the coins in the holders with these gentlemen's handwriting on the holders. I never changed them over to my handwriting. I never changed them over to my type of holder because I wanted to keep I wanted to preserve their handwriting. I wanted to keep their experience with these coins intact.
So we're talking about sentimentality again.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the most important thing is the stories that I get out of everything I do. It's not the value of it. It's not the monetary value of it. It's more the value that I hold in what I have.
Yeah, you know, I have a few things in my collection that were given to me by people. And the value of the coins is insignificant to me. The fact that they were given to me by, you know, special friends or relatives is what makes all the difference to me.
Right, and I mean, you get the same thing that I'm saying is you know, we're on the same page there.
The vendor dude wants to know how many coins does a set of dies usually make in their lifetime for the Lincoln cents?
For the Lincoln cent, for the older copper composition coins, they tended to mint a little bit better than the newer zinc coins.
Really?
The older copper ones could actually get up to about 1 million coins per die pair. And then with the zinc ones, it's estimated that they don't get any better than about 600,000 or 700,000 per die pair.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Is
That's
it
a whole lot
illegal
more than
to
I
own
thought.
an expired die?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is it illegal to own a expired die?
No, it's not. The mint actually sells them. But generally, an expired die isn't going to have any bit of the design left on it. Basically, all you're going to see is the key number on the side of the die, and you basically got the cylinder of metal that's tapered down to the actual punch size for the coin, and then somewhere down on the base, there's going to be a 3, 4, 5-digit serial number on there.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. No, actually, excuse me for a minute.
They're talking about 64 peace dollars out there. I thought that was like the last year of the Franklin and first year of the JFK. No, I'm thinking half a dollar.
Not half dollars.
Yeah, never mind. A 64 peace dollar. I've never heard of that.
I just excused myself and grabbed a book that I have. Someone was asking what was the most prized coin in my collection. most prized coin in my collection is not a coin; it's a book. And this was it's in 4 photo albums, and it was written by Delma K. Romines, who was a student of the die variety back in 1989. And there's only a couple of dozen copies of this book in existence. But what it does throughout the book is it shows images and pictures of die states of coins. This guy did a forensic study of what's known as die state, which is basically how the die shows its age in detail. And there are 4 books in this set of albums. It takes 4 books to make up one book, and he made every one of these himself and gave them to close friends and sold them to a few people. And I turned up with one of the copies of Delma's book.
Wow.
And so this is the most prized coin in my collection. It's not a coin at all. It's a book about coins, and it describes what to look for in different die states, and it talks about what to look for. And as you go through this book, it uses different examples to show you how the different parts of the coin's design wear out as the coin mints more, or as the die mints more coins. But there's the most prized possession I have right there.
Cool. I got a question for y'all. Does this 29 look clean to you?
Is there a way that we can... How can I bring up Seth so I can see his... Okay.
Click directly on his image with your cursor.
Okay, I got it. Seth, no, it does not look like a cleaned coin, but it does look like it's been through... it looks like it's been shaken up with a bag of rocks or something. Coin's a little...
dryer.
Coin's a little beat up, but it's not cleaned.
Okay, because it's got pretty much full wheat stalks on it.
I would say it's probably a details extremely fine coin. If I'd probably venture to say it's worth VF money for that. And that's a 1929 plain. You're looking at probably 50 or 60 cents. But
Cool.
The fact that you probably pulled it out of a roll is really special, though.
Yep.
You're talking about a coin that's 85 years old.
I found a VDB metal detecting. That was pretty exciting.
A VDB.
Yeah, but it wasn't the good one. It was just the normal, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like, what, 20 VDBs? But it was the, it wasn't the $800 one.
Right.
It was the...
$15 one.
Probably.
Yeah.
Did you know that all modern cents now have VDB on Lincoln?
No,
Yes.
I didn't.
Yeah. They all do right below the shoulder. It's what they call the official name for it, where the shoulder is cut off at the bottom, is called the truncation.
Yeah.
At the truncation of the shoulder, near the back of the shoulder, there's a little sunken-in VDB there. A lot of the newer coins, especially in the 70s, don't show it very well. But over the last 5 or 10 years, they've done a really good job of cleaning it up so you can really read that very well.
What year did they start doing that, Chuck?
1918.
18. Yeah.
Yeah. They funny thing about the initials is they started with the initials in 1909, and they were on the reverse between the wheat stems and down toward the very bottom of the design along the rim. And they only minted VDB Lincoln cents for 2 days, the 2nd of August and the 3rd of August, and possibly the 4th of August of 1909. And what occurred shortly after that is a public outcry that this something about venereal disease on the back of the Lincoln penny. on the brand new Lincoln penny. Why did they disgrace the penny with the venereal disease, this and that? And Charles Barber was the mint director at the time. He decided, well, I've had enough of this. We're just going to take the initials off the coin. So they stopped the presses, turned in all the dies, filed them all down, took the VDB off, put the dies back in the presses, and started making coins again. So then the remainder from August 4th, August 5th through the end of the year, all of the Lincoln cents made were without the VDB. The thing is, Philadelphia had hung enough dies and made enough coins in that short period of time to make their coins. I think they made 1.5 million or something like that. But then the San Francisco coin was the one that ended up being the key, because they only made 418,000. No, 418,000. Man, I'm getting foggy tonight. Brain isn't working like it usually does. But they didn't make very many of them. And
you talking about the SVDB?
Yeah, the SVDB. It's a 1, a 4, and an 8.
Hey, why is the S? I mean, besides the obvious, is there lower minis? But why did San Francisco just have a smaller building? They just couldn't ever manufacture as many things as like Denver could.
That's part of it. The United States and the different mint facilities actually mint coins to demand. So if the banks don't need as many coins, they don't mint as many coins. And the Philadelphia district, back in 1909, there wasn't an operating mint making Lincoln cents in Denver. Denver had been making coins since 1906, but they didn't actually start making pennies until 1911. And so in 1909, Philadelphia and San Francisco made all of the coins, all of the Lincoln cents for the entire country. And Philadelphia had a much larger district that they covered, so they made a whole lot more coins. They did have a larger and more modern facility, but it wasn't just the facility as the reason why they made a lot more coins than San Francisco did.
There's probably a bigger population in the East then too, I suppose, huh?
Yes, much bigger.
Hey, we had a really another really good question. Super Neo 123 wanted to know how many of the 1959 cents are there with the wheat reverse?
1.
Just one?
Yep, it was found in California in 1986. It's been deemed authentic by ANAX and by the Secret Service. However, some other experts have looked at it and said that it had to have been clandestinely made. Once again, a real mint employee making coins with a real die at the mint that was snuck out somehow.
Oh, wow.
If this was an actual die that minted actual coins that came out into actual circulation, and there was good reason for them to have come out into circulation, there would be thousands of them out there, not one.
We had another really good question out there by Black Diamond Steaks. He said, "What's with all the extra metal in Denver 1960 cents? The cud and stuff."
Okay, especially for 1960, it seems that the first design that they made for 1960 was a new design. It was a recut from the 1959, and it seemed to have chipped really easily, and that's what it is, little flakes of metal chipping off the die, and that causes the raised metal areas. That is why you have a small date and a large date 1960 Lincoln cent. You have those because the design was changed sometime mid-year. It's been speculated that they were changed between March and May of 1960, and the design was strengthened. It was changed. The steel was strengthened that they made the dies out of, and thus the large date Lincoln cent for 1960 was a lot more common, made a lot more coins, and it broke a lot less than the small date did.
We're going to go for about another 5 minutes, okay, folks?
Got it.
Okay.
Will?
Yes. Whatever happened to the Carson City factory?
Fire.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, they had a fire, and then they decided just not to rebuild because the Comstock load was pretty much exhausted. No metal left, no reason to have a mint.
What do you mean no metal left?
The Comstock load was what basically started that mint in business, and they minted a lot of silver dollars, a lot of silver coins out of Carson City with the silver that had been found in the Comstock load. The
Comstock. Wait a minute. What? I don't know what the Comstock lode is. Is that a mountain?
Oh,
Mine.
Comstock lode was a mine found by a gentleman by the name of Comstock. Actually, it wasn't found by him, but he claimed it anyway. And it's the largest deposit of silver ever found in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And that's why the Carson City Mint was built where it was, because it was very easy to ship silver across a 10, 15-mile journey to get to Carson City to mint the coins. And so, yeah, they found this huge vein of metal. They started minting coins. And then I think the mint, I'm going strictly by memory here. I believe the mint was built in 1870. It was opened in 1872, and I think it was closed in 1895. Am I right?
Sounds about right.
Everybody like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Whatever, Chuck.
Yeah. I think it was shut down in 95 or 98. And they did that because there was no metal left. There was no reason to keep it open.
Yeah, I've only seen Morgan's really from Carson City that I can recall.
They also did quarters. I know they did quarters. I know they did, believe they did half dollars too.
Barbers?
They did what?
Barbers or seated? Or maybe both?
Well, it could have been both because Barber started in 92. So there could be some 92 TC Barber stuff, 92 through 95, but I don't think there is any. Somebody said yes to me.
No, everyone out there, I'm not doing an after chat. I was just sending a link so y'all can come in here and talk to us like off there and stuff. I'm not doing an after chat. I've already done too many this week.
Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap it up here. Thanks, Seth and Tim and Will, for stopping by and hanging out with us for a little while. I appreciate it, guys. And special thanks to Tim for going to Amazon and picking up Chuck's book. Appreciate that. And Chuck.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And I'd like to do it again sometime in the future, too, if you don't mind.
I'm open.
Great, great. I really appreciate it. And special thanks to Hayden, Jack of all trades, for being my sidekick this evening and every other chat. I do appreciate your efforts, man. I really do.
That's what we do, man.
And I'd like to thank everybody who's watched this evening, listened, and participated in the chat room. You guys had some great questions out there, and we're going to do it all again next Thursday. I don't have a guest lined up yet, but rest assured I'll get something lined up in the next few days, and I'll make an announcement on my Facebook page. If you go to Facebook and look up Supradrew, or if you go to Facebook and look up Coin Hunting Finds and Curiosities group, I'll make an announcement there as well. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast now. Chuck, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you, too.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, everybody have a great weekend. Don't forget, Saturday is Valentine's Day. Send a card to your loved one. All right. Bye-bye, folks.